Well, hi there, my name's Grant Whitehead, and I am endeavouring to show, it's kind of like a training video on all the setup here at 614 Melbourne, all the AV and stuff. And so I would do it in person, but I'm on the other side of the globe. I've moved to LA. So I'm rushing this in before we leave and before Christmas. So here's the concept. 614 got a whole refurb in sort of 2010, 2011. And part of that was to install some AV equipment. There was a whole lot of back and forth as to what that equipment would look like, and some petitions that went to DHQ and THQ. And thankfully, all of those guys were favourable, and they said, go with it. Let's install some decent equipment in there. So that's what they did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about audio, vision, and lighting, and I'm going to try to keep them in different segments. I'm going to try to just stick to what it is that we have done here, and how the infrastructure has been installed versus the actual equipment. I'm going to sort of steer a little bit away, because you can get a lot of good tutorials on YouTube about how to use the sound desk and how to use Pro Presenter or that sort of thing. You can actually find some decent tutorials around on that. But what I thought would be helpful is just to show how have we set it up here, what are the basics. It still is quite embryonic, the way it's been set up. And I imagine it's going to change over years, but at least if there's something that people can look at, that you can have a look at even at home, you could watch this video and get an understanding of what the setup is here. So let's start off by talking about audio. This was probably the most significant aspect of the install, and that is the Yamaha M7 CL ES48 channel sound desk. The reason it's significant is that it all runs over Ethernet, over a network cable. There are no extra cables that run around the place or a multi-core. It all runs on Ethernet. It means that it can be easily moved around, and just one network cable is what's used. That was part of the thinking, that if we had a decent size event that was happening, we could move it out, or we could put it on the balcony or wherever it could go. The other really sweet thing is that it all runs on the iPad. And so if we, I don't know, you can see that in the background sliding up and down, but everything can be run from the iPad. And so this can be done out in the temple. You can walk around and adjust the sound. So that was the biggest thing about getting this sound desk, being a digital desk. It can store different scenes, and there's a whole lot of functions. Now, this is a good example of tutorials that can be found on the Yamaha website. You look up M7, you'll find tutorials on how to use this sound desk. That's going to be the best way to learn about the sound desk. There is some specifics of how we've set up, and I think I'll show as I go around and just show how this all works. We'll do that in a second. The second thing to talk about is that there's full recording capabilities as well, multi-track recording. You can do up to 64 channels, independent channels recording simultaneously. And so here's a recording of Hope Glory, the event just recently, and that had 33 different channels recorded. The way that it's recorded is it goes from the sound desk, one network cable, straight into the back of the computer, and it streams all of the audio data straight from the sound desk into the computer. The specific software or the drivers that are used for that can only be used with Cubase software, and so that is why Cubase is used. So this is Cubase version 6, and there's lots of tutorials on how to use Cubase 6, and just recently we were somewhat successful in we were successful in exporting from Cubase into Pro Tools. We did have some problems with the glitching in the audio, but I'm sure that's just some teething and that can be sorted out. So that's Cubase, which is to do with the audio as well. All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what the audio setup looks like and how that works from the sound desk through to the rack and then to the stage. So let's do that. Okay, here we are at the back of the sound desk. As you can see, there's 8 inputs, 8 outputs for microphones, and they're called omni outputs because the bulk of the inputs and outputs are on the sound stage boxes, and there's 3 of those. So I'll explain those. There's 3 network cables that get connected. One is the top one there in the middle. That is for the network. It goes straight through to the router, and that enables wireless router for the iPad. And then you've got ether sound in and out. Out. So the out, that goes off to the stage boxes. It goes to the one in the rack. I'll show you next. And the third port, the third out, that goes off to the computer for recording. So that's those outputs there, and then it's just a power cable on the sound desk. Okay, here's the rack. I'll keep talking about the audio. So you can see here is the first of the 3 stage boxes that work with the sound. You can see in and out. The in-network cable comes straight from the sound desk. The out cable goes up into the patch and then through to the stage, and I'll show you where that comes out. Currently there's the DVD player and the computer sound is going into that stage box so that it's not connected direct to the sound desk, and it means that you can easily move the sound desk without having to move all of AV as well. So you can see each stage box has 16 inputs and 8 outputs. The 7 and 8 there are going into the amp down the bottom, and that amp runs the speakers in the balcony for the delayed speakers up there. So you can see in the rack as well, there's speaker outputs, speaker inputs, and then you've got points across all the balcony for audio, and that's where we keep all the microphones and everything. And then this is a video patch. We'll come back and talk about that in a moment. But there's the network patches up the top, and that network cable there is going out of the stage box and into the port that goes to the front of the stage. Let's have a look at that next. Okay, so we're up on the stage, and there's a network cable that comes out of the bottom of the stage there and plugs straight into the front of the stage box is in, and there's another one that goes out. The out tucks under the stage and goes to the back one. You should always get flashing lights, 4 flashing lights, 2 for in, 2 for out. That's how that works. And then we have got some basic numbers, and we try to keep these consistent, but I have put numbers numbering the stage boxes so that the ES inputs are all correspond to these numbers, and that comes important when you're repatching to make this work. But generally we were using vocals 1 to 4 at the top, and piano is there on 22 and 3, and I think 26 is Brad's guitar, things like that. So there is some basic patches. You see the receivers for 4 handhelds, and there's 2 headset microphones, one of which I'm using now, and there's 2 more receivers in the rack behind. So we'll have a quick look at that rack. So that sits at the back here. There is a network point that comes from the front of the stage and then just goes into that input there. And so that gives us 48 channels of input. You can see there that I've got the numbers from 33 to 48, and that helps to get the patching correct on the sound desk, and I'll show that basic function there. The arrays are straightforward. Three different array boxes that are still yet to be set up properly, but will be set up by the DB guys. We'll come and set those. So then the wedges are straightforward. There's a couple of larger ones, a couple of few smaller ones for vocals, and they can be plugged in straight. There's power, and then the input can come straight from the outputs there. That's how that works. All right, we'll go back to the sound room. So as I said, I don't want to go too much into how the sound desk works. It really is going to be best to see those tutorials. But just to say that I have kept to some standards, and that is to say that the drum kit is up here at the top left, and then we have bass and guitars and piano down here, and then we have the vocals in this section here. Normally have reverb and delay here on the two stereos. In here there's the 4 handhelds, and up here is the 4 headsets. So we have kind of kept that, and all of those are labelled. So when you look at the top, when you look at the top screen, you can see up there what it actually says. And so if I keep pressing, it'll tell you what channels they are. If it comes up with a number, then it's not used. But there's piano, and so they've already been put in, but they can be easily changed. As I say though, I keep saying, it's going to be easier to watch the tutorials on how to use this sound desk. But here's a really basic way of changing the patching. If you need to change the patch, so what the input is. So I'm just selecting one channel. I'm selecting the blue button, which is blue select. Now, what happens is I need to press any of these buttons here. I need to press it down, and that's going to give me the specifics of that particular channel that I'm selecting. So this one was the yellow handheld. And then you see here, it says ES30. If you click on that, or finger press that, then it'll give you the options as to ES1 to 32, ES33 to 48. They corresponded to those numbers, firstly in the rack, and then the one at the front of the stage, and then the one at the rear of the stage. And so you can select easily, you can see where inputs are coming in. So let's just say I change it to 31. It'll say, do you want to change it to 31? And that now is set to the input that this headset mic is that I'm using. And now that's working for the channel. So I can just put that back, put it back to ES30. That's how you change inputs really easily. As far as outputs go, we want to look at down here. You'll see the mix buttons. If I just hit mix 1 to 8, we'll see that this is essentially the foldbacks. And so I've got mix 1 is lead, as in lead vocal, mix 2 is vocal, mix 3 keys, 4 guitar, 5 bass, and 6 kit. And so it actually says there which of the ES outputs it's going to. And that can be as simple as, if I wanted to change the bass output, I click the button, and then I can just change here, and I can actually send it to multiple outputs. You can have the same foldback send going to multiple outputs, or you can just unclick it and just have it being sent to one. So currently that's on ES 18. Now, because of the way that we have the stage, there is some points in the stage that can be used. There is some points in the stage that can be used on as inputs and outputs, little floor panels. And if you use those, they can just be linked from the rack back here and put into the stage box that's in the rack. That's a way of routing directly from the points in the stage. To say about what I've set up as the user-defined keys, the first 6 are set up as the 6 auxiliaries or the 6 mixes. And so to do a really easy mix of what's going in a foldback, you'd select 1, and this now has changed the faders here to exactly what's being sent into foldback number 1. I hit 2, I get foldback number 2. And it's telling me here which foldback is selected. That's the vocal mix. This is the keys mix, guitar mix. And so the faders are changing based on what is being sent into that auxiliary or mix as it is on here. You can also press it straight here and that will show you what's going on, but here were some quick buttons that you can just click and unclick and that'll bring it back to front of house. So the last little bit on audio was just to show a little bit of the recording capabilities, and I'll just show from Cubase. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my mic out. I'm going to change the desk into DAW mode. I guess I can show you now. So in setup, there's Stagebox setup, and it'll say from Stagebox or from Digital Audio Workstation, and so the DAW, D-A-W. So I'm going to change it to DAW, and then I'm going to be able to play back from Cubase into the sound desk. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to change the scene from our normal setup, 002 normal setup, to 003 Hope HG, Hope Glory. And that was the setup that we used for the event, and all the patches are different. Everything is different on the sound desk. What will happen is as soon as I do that, then I can play back from Cubase, and it essentially is playing back exactly what was recorded on the night into the channels, and I can change on the sound desk the sound that's coming back out. You actually can do a virtual sound check. This is a great way to learn how the sound desk works and to play around, is to record an event, it might be just a band, and then when they've finished, you can play back and you can tweak all your settings, play with effects, all of that. So I'm going to show you now, and my mic will cut out. Okay. My mic won't cut out. I did set it up until I swap now. And now I'm going to turn on the DAW. And we're back. So you can see that I was able to play around. I was doing some different changes. I had, going through DCAs, I set up subgroups, and so I had in here drums, bass, keys, guitar, vocals, and then lead vocal. And so that's how I had the 6 subgroups that I was able to assign, and then be able to just adjust those settings on there. So it really is an amazing sound desk, and the possibilities of it. Let me just very quickly show you when you do the app. You'll see that it's syncing now, and there it is. So you'll see my microphone here as headset black, has no tape on it. Down, up, and so that's working straight off the sound desk. Now, a couple of features here. So when you go sends on fader, you can choose the fallbacks. So there's the names that we've put in, same as pushing those user-defined keys. Now you can just see I could put this through the fallback, and actually that's working. Okay, and so you can change all the fallback sends. Now, the thing with this too is the EQ. This is a really nice way of doing EQ really easily. You can just grab here and you can hear my sound completely changing. And you can just easily change that. And you can do, for these ones, you can do the Q as well just by pinching. And that's changing the sound completely on my microphone. That's a nice way of doing it. The things that you can see here, you can see the input. When you change to head amp gain, you can see this is the actual gain input coming in on that channel. You can see here it says ES31, and that's where this headset is actually plugged in up at the stage. So while you can't change it in the iPad, you can easily see, and you can also see if phantom power is on the 48 volts. You can see it is on these 2 channels here, and you can turn on and off. You can do long faders. So this is worth its weight in gold. It really works great, particularly on a Sunday. It's just easy to walk around in the room where you can actually hear and change what's happening. And there you go. That's the iPad. All right, so that's audio. Hopefully that's actually helpful. The next thing I'll talk about is vision. So let's do that. Okay, so this is vision. At the heart of vision is the iMac running ProPresenter. Once again, you'll find all sorts of tutorials online when you look at ProPresenter about how to run that. Lots of people have been learning, and it is straightforward. It's been written by people who made it for church, and so it's really custom made for running in churches. So the switcher that should sit at the top of that rack is missing. It was faulty, and so that's going to be back soon. But basically that will enable switching from the computer, switching to the DVD player that's there, and there is a TV tuner or a digital set-top box, but there is no antenna input into the room as yet. So that's something for the future. There is a monitor there as a master output. That will be the preview output from the switcher, so that you can preview DVDs and other inputs if you connect multiple computers into it. And then there is just a camera sitting up on the balcony, just because the room is difficult to see sometimes, and so that's a camera. The potential is that can be set up on the wall. That can be wall mounted. There's a lot more opportunity for changes in the way that this has been set up, but currently it's working straightforward. So at the moment it runs VGA straight out of the back of the iMac, and it runs into the matrix switcher. So that is a 4 input, 8 output matrix, VGA matrix switcher. What that means is that you can have any of the 4 inputs go to the 8 outputs. So you could have 2 different screens going to 4 screens, you know, one input going to 4 screens and the second input going to 4 screens. Or as we have it at the moment, input 1 is going to all 8 outputs. And not all 8 outputs are being used currently, but they all break out into RGB HV, so red, green, blue, horizontal sync, vertical sync, and then all of those B and C points relate to the points around the room. There's 3 stage boxes, floor boxes in the stage, and they have VGA points in them, and then there's some VGA points all around the balcony. VGA probably wasn't the best thing to be installed into the place. It is a little bit soft and a bit ghosting on the screens, but that's what we had to work with. It was already all installed before we got to talk about it. So there is RGB HV, and there's composite signals, and there's component signals, as in red, green, blue as well. And so they're all over the place. So they can be, there's breakout cables, goes from RGB HV into VGA, and they can go into the back of that matrix switcher. It's straightforward. You can select a different input on that and then select which outputs you want it to go to and press take, and away that works. But generally, that will probably stay on the same input in going to all of the 8 outputs. And at the moment, that works on the screens, that there's 5 screens. The 2 screens on the stage, on the truss, and then the two screens left and right, and then the fold-back screen on the balcony as the 5 outputs that are used. And they're just standard screens set to VGA input, and they work for vision. So the audio that runs from the output of the Mac and runs into a DI rack mounted box on the back of this rack, and then that comes out as a mic cable and goes into the stage box over there, as I looked at before. So that is the basic vision setup. So the last thing to talk about is lighting. So lighting runs off of software called DAS Light, and this has been set up, but it's still a work in progress. There is 2 dimmers, just standard 12 channel 10 amp dimmers that are ran from all of the patch points around the balcony, around the front of the balcony, and then we have the LED coloured lights as well. The way this has been set up is just with buttons. So as a basic setup, you can just go and click, for example, stage wash colour, or stage wash, and that will turn. If we look out onto the stage, we can see the stage wash has just turned on. So this is the way this works. Steve Sparius from Cranbourne Core, and great guy. He has set up these buttons. He knows it really well, and it's, as I said, it's still working as to the best way to set it up. But the basic setup is that there's DMX going through the building, looped in and out. There's one DMX that's being ran down mic number 1 there, is DMX running down that to the floor box in the stage on stage left, and that runs DMX through there and to the back of the stage, so that you can run the 4 movers. There is 4 movers. You could run 2 of them on the back of the stage, and that's how that's running. It comes from a there's some coloured lights there. It comes from a DMX DA that you can't see. You can see the lights flashing from it, or a splitter, and there's the DMX outputs, 3 outputs loops that come from in the room around the balcony, and that's the lighting of the theatrical lighting. And then the house lighting can be ran via this. It is actually correct as to the labels. I wasn't sure it was to start with, but it is. If you just hit manual, and then that will work. Those dimmers, those sliders will work for the house light. So I hope that has been helpful. It was a bit crash course, and I'm sure I've missed things out, but I wanted to at least just give a bit of the knowledge that I've picked up over the time about how everything works here, and hopefully that's helpful. So if I can be of any help to you that's watching this that need to try to be doing things at 614, you can email me, grant@whitehead.com, and I would love to help. And I really hope this is such a ministry that I'm really passionate about. It's a way of serving that's so unique. 614 is such a unique ministry. Brendan and Sandra Noddle are amazing and completely unique, and I have loved being able to serve them and serve the people of 614 by doing sound and lighting and AV. I hope that because you're watching this, that you have a heart in the same way, that you want to be able to serve people, that they can hear what's going on, they can see what's happening, they can read what's going on, and it's not a distraction, that there really is a spirit of excellence and wanting to do this really well. 614 is uniquely resourced in this way. This is really good equipment. There's things that can be done better, and there's work to be done, but the core equipment is really good, and I hope it's looked after, and I hope it serves the purpose well. I really appreciate the fact that you've watched all of this. I am talking longer now because you've obviously sat through this whole video, and I hope that it's of use to you. So God bless you. Thank you so much for taking an interest in doing production at 614. Thanks. Bye.